Hey, everybody. Good evening. And welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I'm your host, Jerry Vasilatos, and joining me this evening to discuss this week's stories is my friend and colleague, Mr. Kit Cabello.
Hello, salutations, everyone.
Welcome, Kit. How are you doing this week?
Well, there's a lot that's happening, but I will say this. Chicago is going through a little situation right now. And, just when you think things couldn't get any worse, they do. That's a sad truth.
Especially when it comes to our man of the top of the hour, this piece of shit.
I thought we'd seen the last of him, but there he is, there for all of us to see firsthand.
We'd hope we'd seen the last of him. And when I look at the booking shot, this guy has got the stone cold look of a sociopath, a shark. I'm reminded of Quint's monologue in Jaws talking about the cold, dull eyes of a shark. They just look right through you.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at right now. So let's just dive right into this. A lot of wounds were opened last night as this. I'm just going to keep saying this piece of shit was released under cover of darkness, afforded all kinds of considerations that you wouldn't normally see applied with other killers of his ilk. Least of all, the guy who decided to gun down a 17-year-old teenager in the street with 16 shots. Let me go to the NBC story that I think it ran last night to just kind of come up to speed. Then I'm going to go to a WGN video, and then we can kind of come out and talk about it.
Investigates the secrecy surrounding Jason Van Dyke's time behind bars. Most inmates can be tracked in an online database. That was not the case for the convicted ex-cop from Chicago. Here's Phil Rogers.
Jason Van Dyke's seemingly short sentence was not an early release. It was in keeping with the day-for-a-day credit offered to most Illinois offenders. Although earlier this week, Mayor Lightfoot acknowledged the considerable public outrage over his freedom.
That was a very difficult and fraught time in our city. And I think that many people carry the
It still is.
trauma of that moment and others like it with them to this very day.
What Van Dyke did not have in common with most inmates was the secrecy he was offered by state authorities. Protocol calls for Illinois.
You think that's CPD's influence, Kit?
It has to be.
Influence of people like Fraternal, the police president, the union, Zara.
Yes to all of it. And look, I don't want to like cut you off, but let me just make this real quick. I saw the documentary, 16 shots, and I remember the scene in the film where, you had one good cop giving a counter report towards what the police union and everyone else was saying what Jason Van Dyke did. And I just won't forget the look on some of these guys' faces as they're going along with this lie that Laquan McDonald was out of control and that he was a menace and that Jason Van Dyke had to shoot him down. It's just, my goodness, when you see the footage of what really happened, it's quite clear that Van Dyke is guilty. He used excessive force. He shot a guy, and Rahm Emanuel's administration covered up the deaths of this young man who lost his life. That's what happened. That is a fact. And the video evidence is out there. All of you watching can see it for yourself. As horrifying as it is, I think everyone needs to see it because, look, there really should be no way whatsoever Van Dyke should be out right now.
Everybody predicted this. He got a short sentence, and everybody knew he was going to be out early. And when you consider how much the police in that documentary you talk about covered up, luckily that a Freedom of Information Act opened up access to all those cameras to discover how much they were covering up, but it just continues to lead to the question, how much else are they covering up with other crimes? Let me go back to the video.
To be tracked in IDOC's online inmate locator, but up to the moment of his release this morning, Van Dyke was not there and his location was kept secret. Contrast that with others like William Balfour, the killer of singer Jennifer Hudson's family. He's in the inmate locator. So are notorious Illinois killers like Starved Rock murderer Chester Weger Henry Brisbane, the I-57 killer, and Patty Colombo, convicted of murdering her own parents. They're in the Illinois system, but Van Dyke was not. He got secrecy, which even Unabomber Ted Kaczynski has never received in the federal system. His location is right there online, along with others like attempted shoe bomber Richard Reed, Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, even Rod Blagojevich, who is still in the federal database but listed as released. And in a similar case to Van Dyke's, Minnesota publicly tracks the whereabouts of former officer Derek Chauvin, convicted of killing George Floyd in the spring of 2020. Late today, the state of Illinois,
As they should. So what's the fucking difference?
said in a statement that the handling of Van Dyke's time in custody and release conformed with Department of Corrections policy, that in fact the whereabouts of 139 inmates are currently not listed on the Corrections Department website. Whatever the reason for the state's decision to hide Van Dyke's location,
That's what they're doing. I'm glad that the news reporter used that phrase. They are hiding him.
it only adds to the outrage that some were already expressing.
He get to go home to his family and see his kids. I can't do all that because my grandson gone. He took him away from me.
Phil Rogers, NBC5 News.
Our thanks to Phil, and we will have continuing coverage of the developments in the Jason Van Dyke case online at NBC.
All right. Good comment here in the chat from Arturo, who thankfully, Kit, is on the mend. I just discovered today Art is in the hospital, not COVID related. And thankfully, he's recovering very, very well. It was kind of a serious procedure. Art, I wish you told me before you went in, but I'm really glad, buddy, you're okay. He shares. Van Dyke literally did it because he was certain, like a lot of cops, Kit, he was going to get away with it because he was a cop. And there was a cover-up until he had to face trial, but had to fall on his sword for political reasons. Kathy Powers shares, yeah, they better hide him well. DOC did this for his protection. The murderer is being protected. Yeah, Art, obviously that's what they're doing. But what about all the other murderers that have gotten out that aren't being given that protection? Why is there no consistency? Why is, and I would say, police union protection, I'm sure. If you've got a nut job like Catanzaro running things, making sure that all the cops under his watch that he thinks the city, whose backs he doesn't think the city has, because they finally have to be held accountable for this kind of shit. I don't know.
So the hard work of all those activists and organizers is basically being insulted, being spit on by what the city has done.
And speaking of
happening
after you finish this, we're going to go to those activists and protesters you're talking about. So,
and I just want to say that there's a unique double standard that we are seeing here in this country, that we've been seeing time and time again, and the pain is not going to go away, and people are going to remember this. And what I would say to Mayor Lightfoot and her entire administration is, okay, Rahm Emanuel had to deal with all of this, especially with the cover-up. You're now responsible, Mayor. And I think it's time for you to either lead or step aside, because Chicago is going to, this is going to have consequences and repercussions further on down the road, because this could set the precedent for, well, all right, if I'm a corrupt cop, if I'm a crazy individual and I want to shoot somebody, instead of serving my full sentence, I might serve 3 years because I know that people have my back and I could get out on the streets just like that. Mayor Lightfoot, do something. Somebody do something. The evidence is out there. The court showed what happened. Laquan McDonald was shot.
it was executed, murdered and executed.
Murdered and executed. He was shot 16 times. And there was a cover-up, not only from the police department, but from then former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who has a nice cushy job as ambassador to Japan under the Biden administration. Well done, Democrats, by the way. You know how to pick them, don't you? Looking at this entire nightmare scenario, I would say this isn't over. And just the thing about all the things that came out from this too, where you even had an attempt by the police to even destroy all the video evidence. And then there was even that Burger King that was shut down by, or that was being shook down at the time by former
Burke.
Yeah, Ed Burke. He's not a former. He's still an alderman because, Chicago politics. But you had Ed Burke, and there was video evidence from that Burger King showing that there was, that Jason Van Dyke murdered, executed that young man. So I think it's important we hear a voice from the activists. I'm enraged as much as I can be, but I think the activists and the organizers that have been really calling this out have every right to show fury, anger, and disappointment at a judicial system that clearly at this point doesn't give a damn, and it never did in the first place.
Well, you know, as long as they protest within the boundaries of what the authorities and the city wants to allow them to protest. Let's look at what happened when the activists and protesters went out last night.
Yep.
Described as ripping off the scab of a wound in Chicago's Black community.
WGN's Mike Lowe live downtown tonight with the latest developments there. Mike?
Ray and Micah, in order for prosecutors to bring federal charges against Jason Van Dyke, they would have to clear a pretty high legal burden. They would have to prove that the ex-Chicago cop willfully broke the law, not simply that he made a mistake, was negligent, or used bad.
Doesn't the cover-up prove that he didn't make a mistake? Doesn't all the efforts that his fellow cops went into to suppress evidence, to hide things, to make up all these stories, indicate that this wasn't an accident?
Still, a number of activists believe that the killing of Laquan McDonald was so egregious that those extra charges are warranted. Outside of the Dirksen Federal Building, the chants of social justice protesters,
We demand justice for a young kid.
echoed through Federal Plaza, and they hoped reverberated on the 5th floor where the U.S. Attorney's Office is located and beyond.
We're trying to get federal charges. We want Washington to hear us.
Inside of the building's lobby, a number of police.
They want Washington to hear them, Kit. Yet the guy who suppressed and covered it up is now the ambassador to Japan.
Yep.
Because buddies in Washington wanted to make sure that he was rewarded and failed upward for his loyalty to their party, not the people of the city he's supposed to lead.
Reform activists locked arms, demanding that Jason Van Dyke stay locked up.
And we're just trying to get justice done.
Engaging in civil disobedience were well-known community organizers.
J-Ball
James
got
Green
pinched
and
again.
Diane Calloway, along with Tracy Hunter, the grandmother of Laquan McDonald.
We just need to do what we have to do for our voices to get heard.
When U.S. Marshals asked them to leave the lobby, they resisted, and some were arrested.
They wanted this.
Resistance is the language of protesting, isn't it, Kit?
It is.
And these people have a absolutely valid reason to be there and voice their outrage, their pain, and this is how they're treated.
That how quick they can be locked up for fighting for justice, quicker than this police officer can be locked up.
Earlier, a group of 17 civil rights organizations led by the Reverend Jesse Jackson hand-delivered a letter telling the prosecutor they are, quote, calling on your office to bring charges, saying that Jason Van Dyke's sentence was a slap on the wrist, and that the ex-cops
and a slap in the face to everybody protesting now.
To black people everywhere.
He beat me to it.
Crime and time does not correspond.
It's outrageous. It's an insult.
Bishop Tavis Grant of the Rainbow Push Coalition says the groups are urging authorities to bring federal civil rights charges against Van Dyke for the 2014 killing of Laquan McDonald.
There's just no way that this Justice Department can allow this to fall on deaf ears. They must hear the cry of the family and the community, justice for Laquan McDonald.
Father Michael Flagger said Van Dyke's early release was a setback in the long effort to achieve police accountability.
We object to what is taking place today, the release of Jason Van Dyke.
And Van Dyke's grandmother says the protests will continue until there's an answer on the question of federal civil rights charges for Van Dyke.
And I want federal charges against this man because it's not going to stop. I'm going to keep trying.
So help me out here, Kit. I think, and that's why I'm asking you if you recall, his grandmother is here protesting. Was it his grandfather or his uncle that decided to testify on Rahm Emanuel's behalf in Washington when he was being reviewed as ambassador to Japan? Do you recall hearing that? Somebody in Laquan McDonald's family wrote a letter on Rahm's behalf. Do you recall that? Or maybe Ed in the chat, do you recall?
Let's hold on that before we make any other statements like that. So I retract that for the time being.
Yeah.
But
I remember it was a point of outrage, and I think even Jamal Green referenced it on his social media feed this week. So you know what? I'm gonna let the video continue. I'm gonna look for it also, and let's see if you find between the two of us, we'll find a reference. Because when they mentioned this is his grandmother here, I was reminded that I believe there was a family member that had said something about forgiveness with Ron.
I actually do have the answer.
Okay, let me pause it. Hang on. So we got it.
All right. So this is from WGN TV. Let me go ahead and pull this up. But it's the great uncle of Laquan McDonald. So
Great uncle. Okay.
Endorses a manual for ambassadorship. So according to WGN, the sources state, waiting for confirmation vote to become the next U.S. ambassador to Japan. Why? My God. Former Chicago mayor received an endorsement from an unlikely source, Pastor Marvin Hunter, the great uncle to Laquan McDonald. And so, yeah, I don't know what he was thinking either.
What was he paid?
Exactly.
Sorry to speculate, but
yeah. So the Reverend Hunter said that the family had forgiven, but Reverend Hunter said the family had forgiven the former mayor, adding they never wanted revenge, only justice. When I look at the facts before this letter written, I realized that Rahm Emanuel did not pull the trigger, said Reverend Hunter. Yeah, but he covered it up.
Yeah.
He covered it up. And he says, as a man of God, I felt like I had a moral responsibility to forgive him, but not all of us feel that way. I don't want revenge. What we want is justice and people. It doesn't serve justice for us to continue to bird dog a man who had asked for forgiveness. What the hell?
It's another one. No accountability.
No accountability.
Rahm fails upward.
Yeah.
You pull shit like this in the city. You do the dirty work of those in control and power, and you reward.
So I don't. And normally for when I get excited for Chicago Corner, sorry if I seem a little monotone or at least.
No, I'm feeling that vibe tonight myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but this story is actually we got to continue on, but this story has made me very sick. Because of the hypocrisy of our judicial system. Clearly, there is no justice. And yeah, just add to your statement, Jerry, you were correct. It was the great uncle of Laquan McDonald, not direct uncle or anything else like that, but great uncle to Laquan McDonald that is wrote a letter for an endorsement for Rahm Emanuel to be ambassador to Japan. What the hell? What the hell?
So. Sharing some stuff from Jamal Green off of Twitter, who I think this was, they had a bit of a press conference before the protest. Let's actually
play it in its full. Let's play it in its full entirety and not interrupt. Let's put it full screen too. Let's play it so they can.
Where will we be today? Where will the Laquan be? I guarantee you, they will be trying to impose a death penalty on that young man. I guarantee you. They will be going to court and on TV trying to impose the stiffest penalties. So they look at us today and say, well, he got 3 years, guys, just go ahead and let it go. No, we cannot let it go. No, we cannot let it go. That young boy was 17 years old. He could have been anything. That's right. He could have been the mayor, the president, the doctor, the news reporters. I don't care. He had many more years to get his life on the path that he wanted to get it on. And it was taken from him. It was taken from him, and he was treated inhumane. Mm-hmm. Why do we have to be here today? Why do we have to get arrested by the U.S. Marshals and go in front of a judge? All because a man who shot a young boy 16 times is not being held accountable. Why do we have to do that? We of course want to be doing other things with our lives. We have lives. Right. We have families. Right. We have things we need to do every single day. But we take the time out of our lives to make sure that our kids, when they become 17 years old, that they don't walk into an officer like Jason Van Dyke and he gets to walk on about his life and go back home to his family. We have to make sure of that because we have a duty to the city of Chicago and a duty all around the world to let young people know that they are safe in their communities. And police officers will not just shoot and kill them and treat them like animals and get away with it. We have to step up. We are obligated to. And each and every one of you out there, from the community residents to the media to the politicians, if you are not standing with us, you are against us. courtesy. And folks are saying, oh, well, it's just about punishment for Jason Van Dyke. No, it is not. It is much more than that. We must set the standard.
Yeah.
Remember that Jason Van Dyke.
You know, Kit, Mr. Green does so much important work for the community. Obviously, clearly, he is so needed there, but I just hope, for the sake of everybody, he thinks long and hard about tossing his hat in the mayor's race, because every time I see him on social media, anytime I see him in public representing, advocating, and speaking on behalf of those whose voices aren't heard, this is the quality and integrity of character that we need in our leadership in Chicago.
More than that, look, because here's the thing: I don't want to put pressure on somebody that. Wait, sorry, is there another video playing?
Sorry, I was just reducing the screen. Please continue.
You know, I don't want to put pressure or enforcement on somebody that hasn't made an announcement yet. Obviously, you know, I believe that he would be a good mayor, and I believe that he can run an effective campaign to get people out to vote. That is a decision he'll have to make on his own.
Yeah.
He has a lot of responsibilities, but I do agree with you. When I do hear him speak, he's somebody that should be leading this city, and I would be more than happy to support him along the way, however which way I can. But that's a decision he has to make. Who knows how this next mayor's election will play out? There's already a few players that are throwing their hats in the ring. Obviously, I don't want to see Mayor Lightfoot get reelected. I don't want to see any of these other clowns that are trying to run for mayor get elected either. We need someone that loves and cares for this city and wants to see it be better. And unfortunately, we have leaders right now that don't care about us. There's only a handful of individuals that do.
They don't value the young kids in these neighborhoods. So I certainly wasn't meaning to.
Oh yeah, no.
It's a hope and a wish. You know, yeah. I think he's going to be valuable serving the city, whatever he chooses to do. But I think that someone with the caliber of quality of his character, you know, might have more of a shot against all the other the establishment clowns that they keep trotting out of the little clown car every election cycle. To kind of come around finishing the coverage on this particular topic this evening. I loved his last word over here on Twitter. Laugh out loud. The feds want to cite me, but can't even charge Van Dyke. Their priorities are messed up. And he shares one of the citations. See if I can open the image in a new tab here. These are the citations that they would issue to protesters.
My goodness.
That they'd have to go to court for and answer for. Citation pursuant to local rule 83.1. Let me really quickly read this while it's up on screen. I got it large here. Respondent Jamal Green was present at the Everett McKinley Dirksen United States Courthouse located at 219 South Dearborn Street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Court facility, local rule 83.1, court facilities, limitations on use as last amended on March 22nd, 2019. Did that really need to be amended, or was it meant so that they could shut down protests? I wonder. Was lawfully in effect on February 3rd, 2022. The rule was posted in the lobby and available on the court's website. Local rule 83.1b states in part, they're using a solicitation and loitering rule, Kit. Soliciting and loitering within the court environs is prohibited. The unapproved congregating of groups or the causing of a disturbance or a nuisance, because isn't civil disobedience just such a disturbance and nuisance? That's what it's supposed to be, to get attention. Within or on the curtilage of the courthouse of this court is prohibited. Now, remember, this is how they arrested him last time when he and his group were protesting in front of the mayor's office after a shooting at the end of last year. On February 3rd, 2022, the acting United States Marshal and several deputy United States Marshals were present in the lobby of the Everett McKinley Dirksen United States Federal Courthouse. The acting United States Marshal and deputy United States Marshals were wearing jackets identifying themselves as an employee of the United States Marshal Service. The rules state in part that the Marshal shall enforce the sections of B and C of this rule, either by ejecting violators from the courthouse or by causing them to appear before one of the judges of this court for a hearing and the imposition of such punishment as the court may deem improper. The group loitered in the lobby of the courthouse for more than an hour. Members of the group were asked to leave by the acting United States Marshal. Several members of the group locked arms. After providing an explanation of Local Rule 83.1, the acting United States Marshal warned respondent Jamal Green that he would be ejected from the lobby of the courthouse, but the respondent refused to leave. Mr. Green indicated to the United States Marshal Service his desire to be arrested and appear before a judge. Guys got stones, Kit. As much as I think as much as we get really riled up about this stuff, I don't know that I would have the courage to take it to go ahead, arrest me. Let's see each other in court because of all of the further trouble that causes, marking your record and branding you as a quote unquote criminal when you're just exercising your right to protest and advocate for others. Anyway, that was the citation he got that he appeared in court for, and luckily he's out since he's commenting on social media. I did reach out to his assistant to see if he wants to come on the show and talk about this. It was a totally last minute thing. I didn't expect to hear back from them, but hopefully we'll have Jamal Green on in the future to talk more about this.
Obviously, and I want to say that we do need to hear his voice as well as the other activists that were there, so that we can hear their voices, hear them speak, because their voices need to be heard too.
Yeah.
Look, folks, I'm just going to be a little biased here about Chicago and the Midwest. If there's going to be real change in this country, I believe it's going to start here in the center of the country. And I think Chicago has to be that battleground for us to end corruption. There's a democratic machine here, and it's a very effective machine. Unlike the democratic machine that you see in Washington, D.C., this is something that knows how to maintain power and maintain corruption, and they're able to keep this thing going on for a very long time. Right now, we need activists and organizers to really start stepping up their game and not just protesting in front of Trump Tower, but actually going to these lawmakers' homes, actually being the fighters and actually going there and actually implementing change, trying to, again, get our voices out and make sure these politicians don't have a comfortable life. Protest in front of their home, protest in front of their offices, go to their places of work. Right now, this city is not being represented by the people that are supposed to fight for us. And we have a mayor that can say nice words here and there occasionally. But right now, what we saw with Van Dyke being released, it's a slap in the face to everyone. And it's a continuing, ongoing sad tale of a two-tier justice system that we have.
I want to go to the live chat for some good commentary from our viewers. Art remarks, Mayor Lightfoot likes to hold protesters accountable unless she's protecting her own ass. E. Heller, Chicago Machine does everything they can to use time and place restrictions to limit free speech. From TrueDemocracyNow.org. Activists must learn that the behavior of our police force is the result of our voting decisions. If we want a professional police force, the mayor and most of the city council must be replaced. Kit, did you see the interview with Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson?
Yes.
So Jimmy made some just such phenomenal points at the end of that interview as they were discussing their viewpoints on what defund the police meant. Defund the police is a horrible term, shouldn't have been selected because as we understand it, defund the police does not mean complete anarchy, remove the police. It means reform the police. It means redirect funds towards usage that you don't need the police to come into play. And one of the great things that Jimmy had mentioned in his viewpoint, in his disagreement with Tucker, which I admired the fact that both of them were able to have a civil discussion about this. Jimmy spoke to the fact that, the police is supposed to work for the community. They're not supposed to come in and dictate things to the community. One of the points Jimmy made was like, wouldn't it be wonderful if the police engage with the community and ask the community, hey, if we pick up one of your kids off the street for violating curfew, you want us to take them to prison? You want us to return them home? And if the community tells the police and works with the police and says, this is how we'd like you to manage these nonviolent crimes, these crimes that are filling our court systems and our prisons for the most meaningless of transgressions, in light of the more violent offenders that should be charged and put through the system. That's what policing should be about. But police culture today is all about that thin blue line. There should be no thin blue line. There should not be a line between police and the public. Mm-hmm. I think that the culture in law enforcement that's been very, very pervasive is this concept that if you take on the role of a police officer, your life is more important and more valuable than the people that you're supposed to protect. And your main job every night is to get home safe. That's your only goal at the end of the night. I'm sorry, it's not. And that's not to diminish from the value of police officers' lives, but policing is a privilege. It's not suddenly I have a gun and a badge and I can go out and be better than everybody else and they have to listen to me because I'm the bully. That seems to be too much of the attitude amongst the rank and file of CPD, as we see. There are good cops out there. I've spoken with them, spoken with one in particular who's a friend of the show, who's shared with me, there are rank and file officers that are just as disgusted as the rest of we are, seeing clowns like Catanzara basically guiding the members of the Fraternal Order of Police to elevate themselves and not look at the public and the citizens of Chicago not as enemies, but as partners to bridge a gap with. Because you bridge that gap, you form that trust, you're going to have a lot more of the public on your side so long as they see that you, the police, are treating them as valuable partners, not enemies. That, if you feel your life is in danger or you fear for your life, you have every right and reason to pull out your gun and start firing in situations where police cams show clearly there was no danger. I don't know the tangent I was getting off on, but
no. You're right to bring up
Jimmy Dore. Yeah,
Jimmy Dore conversation with Tucker Carlson. Because look, I know. Look, Tucker Carlson. Let's be very clear. Has said some crazy stuff here and there that I disagree with. But
I can't stand Tucker. So
right. But this is beyond the point. Because look, I believe in free speech. Okay, I believe in free speech, and everyone's entitled to their opinions and which way they want to present it. I will say this for Tucker Carlson. He's had a lot of progressives and activists that you don't see on MSNBC or CNN or CBS or ABC.
Yep. Interesting.
And it's interesting that's happening. Same thing with this whole incident that's happening with Joe Rogan, too, where you got artists wanting to censor him and silence him, all this other crap. Look, there has to be an exchange of ideas. There has to be a conversation. And that's the whole purpose of also creating Chicago Corner. So cover local Chicago stories and put a national light on it, but also giving a platform to activists like Jamal Green, or all the other guests that have been on Chicago Corner, so that their voices are heard. And we need to hear these voices, because I said this and I believe in it. And I'm probably going to get a smile out of you, because we're going to be ending this segment, I think, in a little bit. But there are good people in Gotham. There are good people in Chicago. The city is worth defending, and I believe in Chicago because this is my home, and I believe that there is justice. I believe that we can do it. It's just, it will not be an easy fight. Let's be very clear about that. And there's going to be a lot of pitfalls and a lot of roadblocks. But I think we can do this. Oh yeah, the Batman.
There are good people. There are good people in Gotham.
Yeah, there are.
No, I agree with you, Kit.
But my deepest sympathies go to the family of Laquan McDonald. This is a direct spit in their face. This is a slap in their face. This is an insult to them, and all the mental trauma, emotional trauma that they're probably going through, as well as the entire city right now, because this is an open wound that should have remained closed, and Jason Van Dyke should still be behind bars.
They might want to do a family circle with that uncle too, and get him to zip it.
Yeah, how the hell are you going to write a letter and say, oh, well, yeah, Ron Manuel deserves that nice little cushiony job as ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Japan? God, see, here's the thing, because last year, but I was in Japan 2 years ago, and I love that country. It's a beautiful place, but God almighty, knowing that now he's ambassador, like, God, no, don't do this. No.
I used to joke that I was glad that he's gone, that they shipped him overseas, but I think it was Daniel who brought to my attention in a conversation we had about this, how Rahm representing the United States is obviously, at first I thought, well, this is great. He's gone, but there, it's going to open up more opportunities for Rahm and the rest of the neoliberals he's representing on the world stage. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that, our benefit of like seeing him put on the other side of the world, out of sight, out of mind is not necessarily.
It's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
He should. The good thing would have been, he was denied that job. Hey, vote blue no matter who, and cul-de-sac progressives that told us to vote Democrat for Biden. Hey, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
Goddamn bastards, hypocrites thrown through. I will never vote Democrat. Never.
I won't either.
Never.
I didn't. I abstained
Never.
voting last time for the national election. We've talked about this before. And Kit, they're going to get decimated in the midterms. They had a majority.
I'm actually looking forward to them, and I'm actually looking forward to the meltdown.
I
want to see that.
The Schadenfreude of watching them all fail, but they're going to blame the voters. They got in. They got a majority. They've got majority.
Go ahead, blame me. Yeah, hey, Democrats, go ahead and blame me. Vote blue no matter who. TYT majority report. Go ahead and blame me. I'm going to vote third party, and I'll do it again. And you know what? Here, I'm going to be a little arrogant. I'm going to bring my audience with me, too. We're all going to not vote Democrat. How does that make you feel? Oh, that's right. I'm using my platform. That's right. We're all not going to vote blue. We're not going to do it.
But here's the problem, though, Kit. I think that the damage being done by the Democrats, although it will be very satisfying to see, hopefully, the rise of third-party candidates.
Yeah.
My fear is that what we've just seen happen this last term where they have the majority is not going to inspire people to come out or pay attention to third-party candidates. It's going to essentially convince them that their vote doesn't matter, and they're just going to stay home. They're not even going to exercise their vote in perhaps elevating some third-party candidates. So the damage that the Democrats are doing, although, we're going to relish in the fact that a lot of them are going to lose their positions, maybe to Republicans, unless we start focusing more attention on the third-party candidates. And I think I've said this before, and I think I was talking about this with Shane Coughlin over at KRTD Media. We got to just completely reshift our focus. As much as they just absolutely outrage us, the Democrats and the Republicans both, just spending more time on the third-party candidates and literally ignoring what the no good, no nothing Democrats are doing, because we know they're fucking us. We know the Republicans are fucking us. We just got to start paying attention to the third-party candidates that we can get more buzz going for, the legitimate ones that maybe don't have the experience, but have the compassion and the integrity and the commitment to looking at being elected to a position of leadership as a privilege and a responsibility, not an opportunity to enrich themselves, lie about what they're going to do, pull the rug out from under everybody, when they're in, and then when they don't get reelected, blame everybody for not voting for them because they were better than the other side, which was horrible to begin with.
Yeah. There's one thing I do want to say, though. The whole purpose, again, for this channel and for Hard Lens Media, Chicago Corner and Hard Lens Media, it is to get more people in office. Run for office. The thing is, I hear your point on that one, Cassie. But with the failure of Cenk Uygur, I have to take that into account, which is failure to run for Congress. It is something that, especially in this city, to run for office, I think we are in a more powerful position to help elevate better, more qualified individuals that can bring in change. And I think that is a position of power that we are in which we can help contribute. And for me, I know if I were to run for office, I think I would get a little too angry. Far like Warpath kind of stuff.
And be judged for it. And why should you be judged for your outrage? To show your spirit, to show your passion for making a difference. I've had in the past, when I've kind of lost it, you need to temper that. You can't be angry. It's like, who are you to tell me what I should or shouldn't be angry or outraged about? Or my right to express that outrage when apparently, unless I open my mouth and am loud, nobody's paying attention. I don't like the fact that we have to raise our voices and get pushed and triggered like this, but that happens because we sense we are not being heard. Let me really quickly give thanks to True Democracy Now! In the live chat. It says, the most corrupt city in the country could be turned into a true democracy by a third party that shows them how to take over our city government. I'm soon to start one in the coming weeks. Now, we've spoken with True Democracy Now! Off the air. Check out their website. I think as we get closer to elections, I'm going to be inviting True Democracy Now! To come onto the show, not just participate in the live chat with their very wise words. Their very wise words of wisdom.
And for Heartlands Media too. But don't worry, True Democracy Now! I haven't forgotten. We
haven't forgotten you, man. It's all timing when it's like when it's going to be used best as ammunition in the fight.
Yes, exactly.
We're keeping our TrueDemocracyNow.org powder dry right now until we're ready to pull it out.
Here's the thing with Jesse Ventura. I think that kind of sideswiped him. I think that's the correct answer. Where everyone's asking,
sideswept.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was taken off guard. Like people were asking him to run, and he was in a different position. Like I don't think he was expected because there was some shenanigans with the Green Party nomination, and people were asking Jesse Ventura to be the nominee. And again, that's where I kind of bring up the thing with Jamal Green. Like, it's not fair for us to really say like, hey, you need to do this, and the person's like, well, I'm not ready, or I'm not prepared for it, and and I think the message that Jesse Ventura was saying is you need to get more younger people to be involved in politics. So I understood why he didn't do it, but yeah, it would be interesting. It would have been very entertaining and good to see Jesse Ventura back in the ring.
I love Jesse. I hope he might reconsider.
Blindsided. There we go.
Blindsided. He's ready. Blindsided. I hope he might reconsider in the future when he's ready. Kathy Powers, the third parties fashion themselves after the existing parties. In many situations, they do.
Yeah, they do. The Greens need to get their act together, as do the Libertarians, and same thing for Movement for People's Party. Who knows what's going to happen with that? The only organization that I've seen that actually shows what a third-party candidate can do is Socialist Alternative, and they're a political organization. They're not a third party.
Kit, I've said this before. I saw this comment tonight, but it really reinforces it. My opinion of my friend Art, the idea man. Kit, you believe in Chicago. That needs to be the rally call. Believe in Chicago.
Yeah. Believe in Chicago. I believe in the people. I believe in the people of this city. Okay? There are good people in Chicago. There are good people in Gotham. There are good people in Hell Beach.
AG, Jenk, $1.3 million down the drain.
That's another reason why I wouldn't run. Because again, Jenk's fit. Like I look at and I wouldn't be afraid to run. It's just I would really have to think long and hard. Like 1.3 million, like that's a lot of money, and they smeared him. I'm not going to go and start defending Jenk or anything like that. Let's be very clear. They did smear him. They did a lot of things to derail his campaign, and Jenk just seemed to just let it happen. And the fact that he went right back to saying vote Democrat, that is such a cuck move.
Well, you just said that's what he is. He's a cuck. I mean, Jenk has been there to serve Jenk, and I'm sure he would have enjoyed the power that came along with being elected to office, but he had the cushion and the money of Katzenberg to fall back on, going back to the Young Turks. So,
yeah.
All right, let me move on to our next story. As we're talking about candidates and politics and worthwhile possibilities, this came across my radar today. Now, he has not yet said anything about a mayoral run, but the timing is quite interesting. Chicago Public Schools Teachers Union President Jesse Sharkey has announced that he will not be seeking re-election. Let's listen to NBC5 Chicago.
Chicago Teachers Union President Jesse Sharkey will not seek another term when the members vote in May. And the next question is, might Sharkey consider a run for mayor of Chicago? Our political reporter, Marianne Ahern, is on the story, and she's here now with what she's found out. Marianne.
Allison, Sharkey's surprise announcement comes just as another group of CTU members have become more vocal and drafted an opposing slate.
People call the union boss this, union boss that. I don't hire and fire our members. They hire and fire me.
One of the city's strongest labor leaders, Jesse Sharkey, has decided he will not run for another 3-year term as president of the Chicago Teachers Union.
We've seen CPS lie too many times.
He's held a leadership post for 12 years, first as vice president to Karen Lewis. During those years, there have been 2 strikes, and then last month, classes were canceled for 5 days as they negotiated COVID guidelines. It's still not clear if teachers will make up those days and be paid.
Well, I acknowledge it was frustrating and difficult, and that's a deal that we, maybe we could have achieved without a fight. If we had a a different mayor. Well, but for that, a lot of things could have been different.
Citing the toxic relationship between the union and the mayor, within the last 2 weeks, a new slate has emerged to take over the CTU.
Vote for change. Members First is that change.
The Members First caucus says those currently in charge have misplaced priorities.
They're far more focused on advancing their own political careers than delivering for us members.
CTU Vice President Stacey Davis Gates has Sharkey's support to succeed him as CTU's president.
It is quite emotional.
She's been mentioned as a possible mayoral candidate, and now Sharkey will not answer directly if he's also interested in running.
I'm going to be involved in city's politics and, in general, and in the union in particular going forward.
Well, that's not a no, and people will take that as a maybe.
I don't know if there's a draft, Jesse, for mayor.
Just give a goddamn answer, yes or no, buddy.
Wonkish.
At least in the short term, once this wraps up for him as the president of the union, Jesse Sharkey says he will return to the classroom as a social studies teacher. Marianne Aher.
All right. So I also have some coverage regarding this from Chalkbeat Chicago. Just give a little bit of background on Sharkey. So he's the president of the Chicago Teachers Union. He's stepping down at the end of his term this summer. He's been involved with the Teachers Union for 2 tumultuous decades, and asked about the possible mayoral run, as we also saw in that video. He did not rule out that possibility. He said he has been mulling the decision to not seek re-election for several months, noting that an quote-unquote all-encompassing role has taken a toll, and becoming entrenched in the top position would go against the union spirit. He was second in command to the late President Karen Lewis, who is, I think many Chicagoans will remember, was also considering throwing her hat in the ring against Rahm Emanuel until she fell ill and had to step out. And unfortunately, Karen Lewis passed away from her illness after the election, way after the election. But she was also a real admired leader in the Chicago Teachers Union. But I'm not sure how I feel about this. Describing himself as a more of a pragmatic, traditional trade unionist, Sharkey once said he worried about following on the heels of the charismatic Lewis. At times, his blunt approach could rankle City Hall, such as when he called Mayor Lori Lightfoot relentlessly stupid and relentlessly stubborn during a recent standoff over COVID safety protocols after winter break. Now, as was mentioned in this video video interview, they mentioned the fact that what I just lose my train of thought. Oh, he's not giving the answer about running for mayor. He's being kind of cagey about it instead of just outright answering. And was
yes or no?
Yeah, was this decision to step down related to the timing now, as people have felt in the past when Karen Lewis was thinking of running, that it would be valuable to have someone embedded with the teachers union to serve in a position of mayor? I'm not sure. I think Sharkey's he has been a good leader for the teachers union, but this sidestepping and deciding to run for mayor now, I just wonder if he's really left to be more valuable within the public school system, or not the public school system, but as an advocate for the teachers as well as students.
I would say I call into question is leadership of CTU, especially during the recent strike where CTU leadership succumbed and bowed down to
you think they did in the end there when they decided
I think so
because they held out long enough to get the issues in front of everybody and let them know, look, we don't have the PPE equipment.
Yeah, I know, but I think there was a lot more that CTU leadership could have done. And let's face it, let's also hear from the membership too. That response from the that's one of many, and I do mean many individuals that call into question of CTU leadership and whether they are truly fighting as hard as they can for the membership. Because there are probably members of CTU that can actually be far more effective. And this is a game of politics now. And the thing is, the fact that you have a hesitancy to answer, I would say, okay, great. That means we are, and it's, again, seeing that comment from E. Heller, we are going to see who's going to be running. So it looks like the clown car is going to be filled with a lot of people.
There's still time to see who else is going to emerge and step in.
Yeah.
Arturo Medina, we need to teach civic lessons in all schools again, and also teach students what to do in an event they feel in danger from the police.
Yeah.
And Kathy offers, she thinks that Sharkey is messing with Lockout. Maybe he is. Maybe more people need to mess with Lockout's brains, rattle her a little bit more into fumbling some more so the right person can emerge to challenge her and hopefully lead the city in the right direction.
I you know what? I hope I'm right about this, but I'm probably going to be wrong. I just don't see her really running. I see her dropping out unexpectedly like Rob did.
Well, then she better stop sending out all these fundraising emails for money because people are sending her their hard-earned dollars right now, I'm sure.
God. Oh, God. Don't donate to Lightfoot. Don't do it, people. Look, Chicago, come on. I believe in you. Chicagoans, stop.
So I have a feeling, Kit, that I'm going to be presenting a hot take in our next story that I have a sense a lot of people aren't going to agree with me. I have a sense a lot of people are probably going to get kind of pissed off at me in my opinion over this.
Okay, let's hear it.
There's a reason for it. And I want to also kind of get your feedback on this demographic here in Chicago. I love bicycling. I think it's a very, very smart idea, if you can, to bike more. as cars end up polluting and causing problems with the environment. I think that going green with bicycling is very important. However, now we have our bicyclists in the city of Chicago demanding that the city improve bike lane maintenance after snow. Now, this comes from Block Club Chicago, Izzy Strubant. The headline is, cyclists call on city to improve bike lane maintenance after snow leaves Clark Street lanes covered in sludge. I honestly try to avoid this street when I'm biking in this weather because when the bike lanes are blocked up, there's even less space, a Clark Street bicyclist said. Now, let's look at the picture. He honestly tries to avoid the street when he's biking when the bike lanes are blocked up. How about you just fucking avoid biking in this weather altogether? Do you understand there's a reason that people who ride motorcycles, you don't see them on the streets right now with the streets looking like that?
Yeah.
There is such an entitlement coming through and a privilege that our bicyclists seem to carry around with them with the chips on their shoulders that the city owes them so much because they're making the tough choice to bike because they can't afford a car or not take public transportation. I was following a Reddit group conversation about this with some bicyclists complaining about the fact that, you know, to the point that these bicyclists are making, that we're not taking better care of the bike lanes in the winter. It's madness to be riding your bike and risking your safety, hitting a patch of ice, wiping out, landing on your shoulder, landing on your elbow, landing on your fucking skull. Take goddamn public transportation in this weather. Now, you want to have discussions about expanding bicycle lanes during normal, warm, safe weather? I don't have a problem with that. But when I saw this headline and they're out there, in the snow, I'm just like, man, this I think is going to turn, at least it has with me, really turned my respect for bicyclists in the other direction. I mean, on top of the fact that they generally don't follow the rules of the road anyway, and on top of the fact that we've narrowed our car lanes throughout the city, thanks to Rahm Emanuel, to accommodate bicyclists in areas that I really wonder, do we really need bicycle paths there? On top of that, we have this story. In addition, they are also demanding, or there was another, I guess, this is being considered right now. Wood Street could become one way with protected bike lanes under the alderman's plan, but some residents say they weren't even consulted. It seems that the bicyclists in the city just feel that they come first. Let me read the article a little bit, then let's talk about it. I'm glad. I was encouraged to see your response was more humorous than hopefully, jumping down my throat that I'm being unfair to the bicyclists. That's not my intention here.
Okay, because before we start, look, I've seen some bicyclists on the road, and when they're riding their bike near my car, I am afraid, like, oh, please don't run to black ice.
Yep.
I hope nothing happens. So look, I mean, obviously, for some people in this city, a bike is really their only main source of transportation because maybe someone might not be next to public transportation. So I see where they're coming from,
but
about the slush and everything. But my brother is a motorcyclist. He has a motorcycle. On the rarest of occasions, like if there's like the chips are down, he'll get on his motorbike and motorcycle and drive in the winter. It's a rare. Most of the time, no. The answer is no.
Absolutely not.
Same thing. Anyone else who I've known who has a motorcycle, especially when I was working at Costco, I didn't see those guys riding their motorcycles in winter, especially when the snow got this bad. No.
It's not
you
about
don't do it because a bicycle and a motorcycle, they're not built for this.
No.
They're not built for this at all. And the thing is, we don't have the city really doesn't have the infrastructure or is it at the city workers to kind of waste their time in clearing out these bike lanes. And when I see these bicyclists, like, right in front of my car or something like that, like I get it during the summer and spring and fall, like, okay, but during the winter, that's a no dice right here. This is kind of story is it's from the perspective of privilege, but then at the same time too, I'm looking at it as a humorous note, like just shut up, wait. March is down the corner. Then April, everything's going to be happy-go-lucky. Spring, sunshine, flowers all around. You can freaking wait. You can wait.
I was confused. I was concerned before doing the story that people were going to think my bringing attention to this is me picking on the bicyclists.
No,
Actually,
you're not.
I'm worried about their safety.
Yeah, I'd be worried. I'm worried about the car drivers too.
As someone who walks with a cane and has to worry about my cane sliding on a patch of ice and falling just from walking, when I see cyclists in the snow and the ice, I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? Some good before I even get into the story, some good comments in the chat here. 100% agree. There should be months not allowed to bicycle. The same issues up in Montreal. Kathy Powers says privilege. Dirtbag Leftist says that people here have studded snow tires on their bikes in the winter. So what? Again, to Kit's point, his brother's a motorcyclist. He knows better than to take a risk in this kind of weather, hitting a patch of ice on a motorcycle.
There is something else here too. Some people may not be able to afford to do that by putting those little attributes onto their bicycle so they can go through the snow. And the thing is, it's the city. It's not planned out properly. It's planned out properly for hyper segregation, but when it comes down to public transportation and bike lanes and maintenance of said areas, the city is subpar and it could be better.
AG, perfect point. Give a 3-month discounted transit pass for cyclists.
Okay.
Problem solved. If they don't want to pay for public transportation like everybody else that doesn't have a bike or a car, I think that this is a worthwhile compromise. If you show that you bike and you use, if you can have proof of the fact that you rely on your bicycle to get places, enact a program to appeal to their privilege and give them a discounted transit pass. I think that'd be a fair compromise. Ed Heller, they'd be better off working with a group trying to get municipal snow removal expanded to sidewalks. Yeah, true. But they're prioritizing themselves first, though. Ed, that's the issue there. Little, I rode with a speaking motorcyclist in the rain once. The drops feel way bigger hitting you at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. Yep. I know that firsthand experience from being a gunner when I was in the Marine Corps. We were doing a patrol in Iraq during my second tour, and we got hit with a big rainstorm. And let me just say, driving in that rain during the winter season was the most uncomfortable feeling in the world.
Yeah. Chicago still doesn't know how to properly deal with snow, and we get snow every year. Maybe we got to prioritize that before the bike lanes. Okay, well, lastly, before I get into the article, JR, there are good and silly bicyclists everywhere, and some have to work with bicycles but don't complain, but many bicyclists were hit by taxis and angry drivers. Yeah, I know. I'm not making excuses or condoning shitty motorists who don't have any consideration for bicyclist safety. That's not my point here. It's bad enough driving in a car in this weather, okay, let alone getting on a bicycle. So local bicyclists rallied in Edgewater Thursday demanding better bike lane management from the city, saying sludgy snow should be cleared from bike lanes. Amid the heavy snowfall of the past 2 weeks, bicyclists took to Twitter to highlight the slushy conditions. One of them was the creator of an account dedicated to the Clark Street bike lane, who asked to only use his first name, Kevin, who co-organized the rally with Courtney Cobbs, one of the founders of Better Streets Chicago. Bike lanes throughout the city need to be cleared with as much urgency as the streets that drivers use, because people still get out and bike in this weather, Cobb said. Give me a reasonable explanation as to why they do that, Jerry says. There were around 103 divvy bike rides citywide in January, Chicago Department of Transportation officials told Street Blogs Chicago. Mel Leverage, who often bikes Clark Street to and from Rogers Park, said they came out to the rally because the bike lane obstructions are pretty constant. I honestly try to avoid the street when I'm biking in this weather because when the bike lanes are blocked up, there's even less space, Leverage said. Now I'm just in the vehicle lane because there's not even a shoulder anymore. Cobbs tweeted the was lane. I think there's a typo. Cobbs tweeted the lane was entirely snow covered and unusable January 20th and 29th. And city data shows 311 reports for snow removal from the lane filled as early as January 24th. If someone wants to bike as an alternative to waiting 30 minutes or an hour for a bus, they should have that option, Cobb said. We need to make sure that no matter how you're getting around, you can safely do so. Let me tell you something. If you're worried about waiting 30 minutes or an hour for a bus, and you're going to tell me that bicycling is going to get you somewhere faster in this weather, I'm going to say you're full of shit. You're utterly full of shit.
Look, and here's the thing:
down the streets in the snow and on the ice.
I remember when Chicago got hit in 2010 or 2011. That snowstorm that shut down Lakeshore Drive. Do you remember that, Jerry?
Dude, it was like the day after tomorrow. The snow was up to the cars. It looked like a Roland Emmerich movie.
I'll tell you something, because there was no way anyone was cycling. Even the plows couldn't even come out. That's how bad it was. Yep. And like everything was screwed up. I remember I was able to get home just before the snow really hit hard because I was at Northeastern Illinois University, and they told us that, hey, classes are shutting down. So I was like, okay, great. I like that window. You know that window in a horror movie, like, oh, you got to get there quickly. Like I managed to get through that window just before the window shut. And I remember looking outside the sky and seeing lightning bolts in that goddamn snowstorm. That's how bad it was. A lot of these look, I hear where you're coming from. I get it, cyclists, I do. But it's kind of a point of privilege too. Like, all right, the city ain't gonna do it. 3 months bus pass. There you go. You're good. You're able to be taken care of. Prove that a bicycle is your main source of transportation. And to each their own. If you want to take the risk in going out there, then put the material needed to make your bike, I guess, winter-proof or winter accessible to do that. But when I'm seeing one of these cyclists next to my car, I'm worried that they're going to hit black ice. I'm worried that something's going to happen, and God forbid, it's one of those things like, oh, why are you bicycling next to my car?
Arturo makes a good point. Yeah. Are some people working DoorDash using bikes for delivery? Yeah, they are.
Yes, they are.
Their means for work, then they have a reason for demand. Yes, they do. But Art, even in that circumstance, I would say if restaurants, places that need to rely on their bicycle delivery workers can't maybe during the winter months provide those same workers if those workers cannot afford their own four-wheel vehicle, a store vehicle to make those deliveries to also protect their workers, since this is so very dangerous. I mean, look, it's not an easily solvable question, but when you see the photos, like this, and this is about safety. Now, JR also shares with us in the live chat. Understood. I had to go to school with a bicycle when my dad died, so I have a little more sympathy for the bicyclists. Dude, I have sympathy for the bicyclists. I have empathy for them. I understand not everybody can afford a car. This is not ganging up on the bicyclists. This is legitimately pointing out this is a safety issue. So when you say you have a little more sympathy for the bicyclists because you had to go to school with a bicycle, I hear you, and God bless you for that. But I wish you didn't have to go to school with a bicycle, and maybe there've got to be some other solutions that are going to protect people's safety, as well as the possibility of a car hitting them or them losing control and accidentally sliding into a car.
Yeah,
during inclement weather. It's really, to me, this is a winter weather issue is why I'm bringing it up.
And it's also an infrastructure issue too that the city should be investing into. Like, look, let's face it. How about this for something? Here's an idea for investing into the city. Let's do something like actually building in which way roads like for public transportation, cars, and bicycle lanes, maybe some sort of heat or salt kind of bike lanes in which they're melted down thoroughly, some sort of insulated technology. I don't know. I'm going on science fiction mindset now, but I'm just thinking like, okay, this is a problem, and it's a city problem, and obviously a lot of people can't afford to buy cars anymore. That is a very serious thing to bring up. Then let's start building our infrastructure around it in order to deal with the situation. We are prepared and ready for it in the future. Let's do that. Invest into our country. Invest into our city again. Let's just start doing that. Because we got a serious issue, and it's not going to go away. Because the way the economy keeps going right now, Cassie Power says Kit's in the metaverse. I'm just trying to think like, okay, more people need to have bikes. More people are unable to buy cars or have the American dream. So I get that. Yeah. And let's build an infrastructure in which they're safe to take their bikes to and from work or go where they want to go, and problem solved. Let's use our brains, folks. If the Romans can build an empire, so can we.
And then watch it decline. Ed Heller brings up a very good point. They can add heating elements to sidewalks and roads. The city chooses not to. TrueDemocracyNow.org references something that has come up in the past, ever since these bike lanes were first introduced, that surprisingly really hasn't been put into implementation. But he says, surely the city will find a way to make bikers a lucrative revenue source for it if these activists persist. Licensing, mandatory insurance, citations, just to suggest a couple. I've never seen a bicyclist or heard of a bicyclist getting cited. They don't have to carry insurance. They routinely ignore the rules of the road that they're supposed to follow along with four-wheel vehicles. So, yeah, good point, True Democracy Now!, but I don't know that our government or politicians are really that interested in pursuing that, given the fact that the four-wheel vehicles are far more lucrative with our speed cams and our red light cameras and everything else all over the city.
This is a fun story.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Jerry. You've already been canceled, buddy.
Yeah.
You've been canceled.
Let me go to the second part of it, though. And this bugs me also. It's like the decisions are being made in these neighborhoods to change a street into a one-way street, widen the bike lanes, and they're not even asking the residents in these communities what they think about it, because what is of principle of importance is what the bicyclists want. Wood Street could become a one-way with protected bike lanes under Alderman's plan, but some residents say they weren't consulted. The plan, supported by 67 people in the ward, 67 out of how many people in the ward is what I wonder, through Alderman Daniel Espada's participatory budgeting process, would turn a 1 mile stretch of Wood Street into a northbound one-way to accommodate protected bike lanes. There's a picture. That guy looks like he's on a motorcycle. He's on a pimped out bicycle. Kind of looks like a motorcycle or a scooter. The Wood Street proposal is one of 7 approved through the First Ward's 2021 participatory budgeting initiative, receiving 67 votes in favor through the online process. It's estimated by the First Ward office to cost $325,000, and it will preserve residential parking on the street. Other projects include building pedestrian bump outs at certain intersections and repainting bus lanes. Alderman Espada said at a community meeting Wednesday the proposals will now be vetted, reviewed, and engineered by the Chicago Department of Transportation. That could lead to changes to the bike lane plan. Some neighbors support the measure, saying it will make the neighborhood safer and easier to travel through. Others are opposed, citing disruptions to traffic patterns while decrying the First Ward's budgeting process. And in a city where, street parking is already at a premium, that's the other thing that bugs me about giving the bike lanes all the priorities. They're like interfering with the limited parking spaces people have if they don't have a garage. Critics highlighted if the plan goes forward, it would create 3 one-way northbound streets in a row: Onar Street, Wood Street, and Hermitage Avenue. Because of the way the side streets work here in East Ukrainian Village, you're forcing everybody to go north and then do giant loops for them to come back to Chicago Avenue or anywhere else, said Steven Zander. And I've encountered this up in my north side neighborhood here near Western and Devon, having to circle around 2 blocks because of the one-way structure of the streets and the alleyways too. Because of the way you have to do giant loops. he lives between Honor and Wood Street as opposed to the plant. You're just going to increase the side street traffic, which is going to annoy a whole bunch more people because now they're going to have people driving around on their side streets that they don't have today. A few blocks north, neighbors. This is what happens when you just start to prioritize the bicyclists and the bicycle lanes. A few blocks north, neighbors Kay Whitridge and Jonathan Webb expressed similar concerns about difficulties the proposal would create when driving to and from their block on Crystal Street. It seems to me that this has been looked at as a bike lane and not understanding the greater ways in which the people who live in and around Wood Street, how they move and how they utilize that space, Whitchurch said. Now you can see there are already flyers. I'm trying to save Wood Street as a two-way street. Other neighbors praised the bike lane plan, saying it would make biking and driving safer along Wood, which is a city-designated neighborhood bike route. While Wood is a good option to get places, I think in its current state, it sucks both to drive and to bike on, said Westtown resident Lisa Soverino, who said she regularly bikes and drives on Wood. So I would say that might be a little bit of a agenda-driven comment. There's really not adequate space for cars to go in both directions, and especially on a bike when there's cars going in both directions, there's really no space, and drivers get upset and frustrated when they have to wait behind the bike. Wah. So, I've driven up and down Cicero along the two major cemeteries, and even in other neighborhoods, Kit, like fall, maybe even in the spring, I don't always see regular sidewalks that full of people during the days, and we have wide sidewalks. And I almost wonder if instead of bike lanes, why can't bicyclists be rerouted onto the really wide sidewalks that you never see any pedestrians on at all, especially along Cicero or these larger corridors, Pulaski, before you get into the store and residential district. Bike lane's fine, but why not repurpose some of the wider sidewalks that clearly there are no pedestrians on? Maybe splitting the difference in half and rerouting some bike traffic there and marking some of those sidewalks. There are wide sidewalks throughout the city that I don't see as thoroughly traveled by pedestrians that I think you could work into a cycling plan to prevent these one-way corridors and eliminating more street parking or making streets all one way, as this article is noting with Wood Street.
I know why we can't have bicycles on the sidewalk, and I think that ordinance is in effect. But it makes a good reason. Maybe there should be an alternative path. I don't know. I just don't.
Kathy Powers says dangerous cemeteries. If I mangled my language, Kathy, I don't know. I don't recall what I said a moment ago. Did I say dangerous cemeteries? Are there dead people there? I may have misspoke. So I'm just going to
even Oreo stood up and said, "What do you mean dangerous cemetery? What are you talking about?"
What are you talking about, Daddy? Let's go to the live chat here. Some good comments. Let's see here. Bicycling. There is a city in California called Davis that has bicycling as a major part of its culture and road infrastructure. Hey, Little, that's fine, but I doubt that they've got the congestion that we have here in Chicago throughout all of our neighborhoods. Did you see what they did to Sposato's desk at City Hall? Kathy says, "No, I didn't. I don't know what." Yeah, send the link. Maybe we can close the show and see what that's about.
Wait. Hold on. I don't spell his name right. Hold on. How do you spell his name?
Sposato?
Yeah.
Sposato. Because you also have bad cyclists that go down too fast. No solution for a problem. Yes, Miguel, Oreo is back. He's now grooming his little front paws.
All right.
In Sacramento, we have a bike trail system, little two-way roads for bikes and joggers. I think that's great. I love the fact that they're repurposing all of these shut down railway passages across the city. We see, I forgot what they're called, but the paths that go across the city that used to be occupied by train tracks that were abandoned for so long. They provide great passageway throughout the city without having to rely on the city streets and bicycle lanes.
All right, so I'm gonna see, like, can someone send us a
here's
link?
Here's what you say. They put a chair and cone on Sposato's desk. He's been clamping down on dibs.
Oh yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, of course. Well, people should be throwing all their junk right there in front of his office. How you gonna do that? You gonna ruin the time-honored tradition of dibs? You're gonna do that, Spasato? Oh no.
I got another hot take, Kit. I don't think dibs is cool.
What?
No.
What?
I think look, that's a public street. If you got to dig your car out to leave, you were already looking for a parking spot in your neighborhood when you lived there, when you came home, whether you were parking.
How you survive in the city. When winter comes, when old man winter comes up, it is end all be all. Unless the city of Chicago is going to come around here and bring its city workers to start shoveling us out of the snow, it is a battle to the death. And think about it. What you see people put out there for dibs, you see like statues of knights, you see mannequins, you see chairs. You see
I love the nativity statues.
Yeah, it's like a mini Christmas.
Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus protecting your parking spot, I think, is the best.
Yes. Oh, I've seen those. I think dibs is if you're gonna live in Chicago, you better fight for what's when old man winter comes, and you gotta fight for it.
Ed reflects my opinion on this. Okay, so first we got Kathy saying, you did it out, it's yours. You dig it out, it's yours. Ed, on the other hand, says, the camp I'm in, dibs is a controversial issue. Neighbors, please help each other out and dig out your neighbors also. Last year, around this time, during the winter when I was able to walk and I wasn't recovering from a shoulder surgery, I've got a snowblower. I'd go out. I wouldn't just do my sidewalk, and I'm not virtue signaling here, okay? I do this because it's easy for me. It was easy for me to do. I got the exercise, and I actually enjoyed the feeling that came from helping my neighbors. I do the building next to me, my neighbor, Theo, who sometimes helps do my lawn in the summer. But even more so, I decide to snowblow my sidewalk 5 buildings down to the alley before it hits the shopping district, because you have a lot of elderly people in this neighborhood who go down to the shop, buy their groceries, walk back. If I've got the power when it first starts to snow to clear out that path to make it easier for people before other people get out and shovel, who might either not be able to shovel as easily because they might be older, they might be seniors, or they're at their work and they're not at home when the snowfall's coming down. I'm sorry, guys. I get a really good feeling from snow blowing the rest of the sidewalk. And if I was parking out on the street and I shoveled out my own space, I don't have a problem with someone else taking it when I'm gone. That's not reserved parking. And,
I hear what you're saying.
And if I wasn't digging out my spot from the snow when I left for work, even in an average day, if I'm parking on the street, I'm not going to find the same spot when I get back to park into it and claim it as mine, because I got off my fat ass and shoveled a little bit and got basically helped myself to get my car out to go to work. What the fuck claim do I have? Oh, because I dug myself out to get somewhere I needed to be, I now have the claim to that spot. No, you don't. Just help other people out. Sorry, controversial, but
I hear what you're saying, and so I would say I would agree with you.
Yes, I have, Kathy.
If the city actually did something that, would actually bring in jobs and help people, like when it's time, the city has a city force to dig people's cars out, dig out the sidewalks, make sure it's all salt everything up, and do that. That would be a great little program, a jobs worker program. Like even if it's a temporary program too, have workers on standby. Obviously when you have the people at WGNs, you're like, okay, folks, we're gonna have ourselves a big snowstorm. Mobilize that snow army and have them dig everything out, and then say, hey, because everything's been dug out, the dibs rule is gone. I would then that way the private citizen can say I can put dibs out.
It's a fair compromise, Kit. And Kathy Powers has got to get in the last digs. Somebody put a chair and cone on Jerry's desk.
Don't worry, we got an Oreo for that. Oreo's a true shell runner. and speaking of which, see, this is why also I would not want to run for office, because I would have all these great ideas, but my party would be called the Rubicon Party, because no matter how this plays out, we're crossing that river, win or lose. And that's going to be used against me. But so there you go. The Rubicon Party. No matter how this plays out, we're taking the office.
Flavor improving dibs.
Flavor improving dibs.
I hope Dyke's able to jump into the broadcast sometime soon as we're talking about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
He's been gone for a couple of weeks. I'm glad to see him participating in the live chat. Arturo says hello, Oreo, and I'm sure Oreo says hello, Art. So listen, we have covered all of our stories for the evening. We're at about an hour and a half. I want to thank you again, as always, Kit. This was kind of a rough patch of stories doing the beginning of the show, and I feel
this was a rough show.
The same vibe of just like another day, another set of stories that we're going to feel powerless talking about, given how the city just doesn't value our citizens or what they think or what they want, and they place more value on this piece of shit, Van Dyke, making sure he's all comfy, cozy, getting out, hiding somewhere, being safe instead of standing up to the music regarding what he's done. Any other news you want to share with us before we adjourn our broadcast this evening?
Well, Hard Lens Media now has a TV show on Can TV. We don't know when it's going to be airing yet, but I've submitted our first recorded test episode to Can TV. So we'll let you know as soon as we get serialized and we start our season back again. We did have 3 seasons on Can TV, so we're looking forward for doing that for Hard Lens Media, getting that happening. Check out also our Rockfin channel as well. We got Rockfin exclusive content happening. The YouTube channel is growing also for Hard Lens. How long it stays growing is really up to the algorithm at this point. But let's get past 100K subscribers. That's right. I'm putting the number up high
for Chicago Corner
and Hard Lens.
And Hard Lens, yeah.
And Hard Lens.
Well, I want to thank our viewers because we have. I'm looking right now. We have increased our subscriber base. I'm looking right now. I think when I came on as host last year around this time, coming on a 1-year anniversary, I think our subscriber base was around 700, 750. We are now up to 1,093. Slowly growing, steady but surely. And I want to thank all of our viewers for helping add to our subscriber base. You can certainly help more by passing our channel around, encouraging your friends to tune in when we're here on Tuesday and Friday nights. You can always share the link on from YouTube or directly from Facebook, since I post links there in the Hard Lens Media profile, as well as from Twitter. Pass the word around to people. I think that they'll enjoy the show, especially given the fact that I really love including all of you to participate and share your live chat comments so that you are part of the show also. Kathy Powers shares at the end of the show here, I have an article coming out on the People's Tribune tomorrow. Kathy, share it with me in an email, and I will talk about it on Tuesday if you'd like me to. In the meantime, everyone, please, going into the weekend, I think we're going to have some more snow, so be safe out there. Stay vigilant. Watch out for each other. Dig out your neighbor's parking spot and maybe do a little bit extra on the sidewalk and feel good about yourself instead of, this is my parking spot. I'm only going to dig out my sidewalk for myself. Me.
Gladiator combat. Show me the blood. Show me the fight. And show me the wonderful creativity which you are for the div scenes. I want to see that. I give my counter argument to you, good sir.
Well, I've also thought about driving around the city and just collecting lawn chair furniture to put up for sale when the spring happens. Just getting my dad's van and just like going around picking up stuff, and people wonder, where's my lawn chair? They can buy it back in the spring at a huge lawn chair sale. Anyway, it's a fun topic to talk about. Remember, everybody, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. We will return next Tuesday. I'm not sure who'll be co-hosting with me. It may be Kit, maybe someone else. But in the meantime, stay safe. Look forward to talking with you all again next week. And Kit, thanks again for joining me tonight. Stay safe, everybody.